everyone, welcome back. Today I'm officially 36 weeks and 2 days pregnant, so we're almost to the end of this pregnancy journey. But today I wanted to talk about gestational diabetes and polyhydraminos. These are two things that I've gone back and forth with during this pregnancy, so I kind of wanted to shed light on that and just talk a little bit about my experience with both of those things. Back in December, when I officially hit 28 weeks of pregnancy, my doctor told me it was time to do the gestational diabetes test. So for the first test, she only had me do the 1 hour test. And what they usually do is they take your blood to see what your levels are when you're fasting, and then you drink the drink, and you have to drink the drink within 5 minutes. And the one that I got was lime flavored, and it wasn't that bad. I was able to drink it, and it didn't really make me feel sick or anything like that. And then after 1 hour, they take your blood again to see what your levels are. So when I did that 1 hour test, I actually failed, and it was off by quite a bit. So the nurse that I had spoke to said that the doctor wanted me to go back and do a 3 hour glucose test. And she was pretty sure that I had gestational diabetes because it wasn't just a few numbers off. It was quite a big difference. So a few days later, I went back and I did the 3 hour glucose test. This one actually did make me sick. So they have you drink another glucose drink, but it's obviously stronger and has more sugar. And then of course you have to sit there for 3 whole hours. So when I went to that gestational diabetes testing, they take your blood first, and then you have another 5 minutes to drink the drink, and then every hour for 3 hours they poke you to see what your levels are. So that one I would say was the hardest test, just because the drink was so strong, and that one actually did make me feel very nauseous. I even was feeling kind of lightheaded and just kind of shaky, and almost a clammy feeling just all over my body. I don't know if that's just the way that my body was responding to the glucose drink, or if this has happened to other moms. But also my baby seemed very hyper, and I remember asking the lab technician if that was normal, and she said that a lot of babies do get hyper with the 3 hour drink because it's so strong and it's just sugar going through your system. And I had made this appointment for 7 in the morning because I knew I'd have to be there for 3 hours. So we didn't get done until around 11. And you can't have a snack, you can't drink water, you just have to only drink this drink. So my baby was very unhappy that he couldn't eat anything, and he was kicking around, going crazy, but also at the same time I could tell he was hungry. So we were at the lab for 3 hours, and it was very boring because we had to sit inside of the waiting room the entire time. I couldn't go to my car, I couldn't go outside, because they have to basically watch you, and they want to make sure that you don't eat or drink anything. And so I'm sitting in the waiting room and I feel terrible. The chairs are so uncomfortable. They have no padding, and definitely not set up for pregnant women at all. And like I said, I was just feeling very nauseous and clammy and kind of shaky because I hadn't eaten anything else. And also because of my SVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia, if I don't eat or if I don't drink enough water, I start to get heart palpitations and a really high heart rate. So I could also feel my heart pounding because of this drink. It was so sugary. And the thing with the gestational diabetes test is if you are to get sick and puke, you have to redo the entire test and come back on another day. So I'm sitting there trying to focus on not throwing up because I don't want to redo this entire test all over again. And this was the 3 hour one, so this is, it's a big deal. I took the entire day off work just to get it done. And also a lot of people told me not to go into work after because I wouldn't be feeling very well after the test. The only one that made me sick was the 3 hour one, and I think it's just because the drink was so strong. But we got through that test, and the doctor went over my results, and we ended up passing all of the blood draws. So we kind of put the gestational diabetes thing on the shelf, and she said that I didn't have gestational diabetes. So that was good news. But then a few weeks ago, I had went in, and every time they check your amniotic fluid when they do an ultrasound to make sure everything looks normal. So on that particular day when I went, my amniotic fluid levels read 28 point, I think it was like 0.8. And the normal range for amniotic fluid is between 8 and 24. So even though I was only 0.8 over, my doctor was saying that that was too high and that we needed to watch my amniotic fluid levels. And she diagnosed me with something called polyhydraminos, which is when a mom has too much amniotic fluid. She explained to me that this could be dangerous. Well, not really dangerous, but I guess problematic, because women who have polyhydraminos, their uterus feels fuller because of the extra amniotic fluid. Therefore, it could cause you to go into preterm labor, which is something that we've been trying to avoid this entire pregnancy journey, because my uterus is already too full with my giant fibroid. So the giant fibroid plus the baby plus the polyhydraminos would just be too much for my uterus. And she really wanted me to be able to get as far along as I could in this pregnancy. So this was another high risk thing that she flagged me for, because it basically put me at risk for the contractions and going into early labor. So also polyhydraminos can be linked to gestational diabetes. Usually women who have gestational diabetes have polyhydraminos. So she ordered me to do another gestational diabetes test. This time it was going to be a 2-hour test. So yesterday we did the 2-hour test, and this drink is in between. It's not as weak as the 1-hour test, and it's not as strong as the 3-hour test. It's right in the middle. I got the same lime flavored glucose drink. It wasn't that bad, and I didn't feel sick this time at all. My heart was bothering me a little bit, and I could tell that the baby was still kind of hyper, but I didn't get sick and I wasn't feeling nauseous, so that was good. So they basically did a poke, and then they had me drink the drink, and then for 2 hours I had a poke every hour. So I got 3 pokes yesterday. And yeah, we're waiting to hear those results. Today I have a doctor's appointment to go over the gestational diabetes results and also see when baby is going to come, because last time I went to the doctor, my fibroid grew again. So this is the 3rd time that it's grown, and thankfully it hasn't grown too big. It just kind of grows like a little bit at a time, but that's still concerning for her, because obviously baby is way bigger and he is very squished in there. And so we're going to talk about possibly him coming next week, or to see if he can make it to March for his scheduled C-section date. But as of now, he is doing really good. We go to our NSTs every 2 weeks for a couple reasons, but one of them was because of the polyhydraminos. So every Monday and Thursday, I go down to the hospital to get the NSTs. And then I'm usually there between like 30 minutes to an hour so that they can monitor him. Before they hook me up to the NST, they do an ultrasound. And every time they do the ultrasound, they check my amniotic fluid to make sure that it's between normal range. So anything between 8 and 24. Lately, I've been kind of between like 11 and 13, which is good. But if it drops too low or it gets too high, then that's a red flag and could mean that the baby is in distress. So that's why they check us twice a week. I've been going to my OB every 2 weeks, and now I'm going to start going every week. Unless today she says that baby could come next week, then I obviously will be having a scheduled C-section next week, but we're still waiting to find that out. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll just make a part 2 video explaining the mature placenta diagnosis that I got, because it's kind of a funny story. But yeah, this is the end of the gestational diabetes slash polyhydraminos explanation video for my pregnancy journey. And the next video will be about my mature placenta. So hope to see you next time. Bye!